The phone's buzzing was relentless. 10 calls missed in 4 minutes total. Mom, Dad, Diana, they called constantly, one after another. It felt like a mandatory fire drill. I observed the screen illuminating, then fading. Outside, soft snow tapped against the glass pane. My packed luggage rested on the counter. A boarding pass for Wyoming was folded right beside it. 10:01 a.m. This was the precise moment for the bank appointment. They were meeting to secure my sister's apartment purchase, the one I could readily afford myself. I continued stirring my coffee, maintaining total composure. I saw no need for confrontation. My action was simple. I disappeared. However, if you understood the reason behind my departure, you would grasp the reality. The silence I kept was the loudest statement I ever made. My name is Emma. I am 30 years old now. I have maintained employment since I was 16. My contemporaries back then focused on saving money for concert admission. I was saving for required textbooks and gas for transport. I cooked burgers after school hours. On weekends, I worked stocking store shelves. I continually convinced myself that every single dollar moved me away from needing anyone's assistance. By the time high school concluded, I possessed enough funds for only one college semester, and that was barely sufficient. When I received my acceptance to elite college, I truly believed my parents would be proud of me. I arrived home that specific night, clutching the letter tightly. My heart was pounding. "I got accepted," I announced during dinner. Dad glanced up from using his phone long enough to ask, "Isn't that the really expensive college?" Mom let out a deep sigh. She cut Diana's chicken into perfectly sized, tiny pieces. "We do not have that kind of resource, Emma. Perhaps you should have put more effort into getting a full scholarship." I felt the sharp sting deep in my throat. I managed to force a small smile. Diana, 12 years old then, wore a knowing grin. She understood something I failed to see. That precise instant confirmed my situation. I was entirely on my own. I began accumulating student debt, starting with $60,000. Interest charges expanded that figure to $80,000 by the time I finished. I worked constantly through college enrollment, the campus tech lab, tutoring, whatever opportunities appeared. Most evenings, I fell asleep right at my desk. An empty cup of coffee sat nearby, alongside a cold, half-eaten granola bar. The only person concerned enough to check on my welfare was Nana Carroll. She called religiously every Sunday. She mailed small envelopes containing $50 notes and short messages. Her handwriting was shaky cursive. "Keep moving forward, sweetheart. You are nearly there." She alone prevented me from giving up entirely. My parents failed to attend my graduation ceremony. They were on a cruise ship with Diana. "Something we planned months beforehand," Mom stated during our phone conversation. Nana Carroll drove 4 solid hours just to be there instead. She stood waving in the audience crowd. She made me feel like I was the sole person she saw. After receiving my degree, I secured my first career position, software engineer. It wasn't exciting work, but the income was steady. I leased a tiny apartment. I relied on canned soup for dinner meals. Every spare dollar was funneled toward loan repayment. I watched all my peers buy new vehicles and take vacations. I was calculating the number of years remaining until my debt was clear. 10 years, best case scenario. By my 30th birthday, I maintained one clear objective: eliminate the debt and finally achieve peace. The morning I submitted the final payment, I sat quietly. I stared at the computer screen showing balance 0. It should have felt like total liberation. It did for a fleeting moment. Then the phone rang. Mom's name appeared. After years of complete silence, she suddenly desired dinner. She wanted to reconnect. If I had only realized her actual meaning of reconnect, I would never have answered that initial call. Dinner at my parents' house felt exactly right, based on my memories. Too sanitized, extremely quiet. The atmosphere itself seemed suspicious of my breathing. Mom greeted me with a look that resembled a rehearsed smile. Dad remained behind her, his hands tucked into his pants pockets. Diana had already claimed a seat at the table. She scrolled on her mobile phone, making a show of not noticing my presence. "It is so good finally seeing you," Mom stated, leaning in for a brief hug that barely touched my shoulder. "You have been busy lately. We rarely hear from you." I almost laughed out loud. You rarely made any effort. The dinner menu featured standard roast chicken and mashed potatoes. The family hierarchy was still rigid. Diana sat at the table head, Mom's usual spot, chatting about her new marketing job assignment. They listened attentively. Their focus was absolute, as if she were delivering a State of the Union address. When I attempted to speak, the room settled into that polite, disinterested quietness. Dad started cutting his chicken. "So, you are still employed by that software company. That field brings in decent money," he observed. "It must be nice being financially secure." I offered a small shrug. "I manage adequately." Mom poured wine into Diana's glass first, then mine. "You certainly deserve this, darling," she told Diana, "not me. You have worked tirelessly." I bit my tongue hard. I had definitely worked harder than anyone sitting there, but I had long since learned that stating this fact only made me appear resentful. The next week, I scheduled a visit with Nana Carroll. She was in her favored armchair, knitting something bright pink. "You accepted their dinner invitation, didn't you?" she asked directly. I nodded my confirmation. They seemed keenly interested in my personal finances. Her knitting needles ceased movement. "Oh, Emma, that is exactly what concerns me." "What do you mean by that?" She sighed heavily. "My friend Patricia. She lives right next door to your mother and father. Patricia called me yesterday afternoon. She overheard them talking outside in the garden. They are formulating a plan to ask you to fund Diana's apartment purchase. Something close to $350,000 required." For a brief moment, I thought I misheard the number. They expect me to buy her an entire apartment. Nana Carroll slowly confirmed the information. "They claimed you now have a high-paying job, zero student debt. They said you could easily afford it." That specific phrasing slammed into me. Easily afford it. I spent a dozen years digging myself out of the financial pit they helped create. Now they wanted me to dive back into deep financial commitment for Diana. I sat back heavily. My chest felt constricted. My eyes were hot, but no tears came. "They never contributed a single dollar to my tuition costs," I stated softly. "They instructed me to handle it myself." "I am aware, sweetheart," Nana Carroll responded gently. "I was a witness." I gazed at the small clock on her mantel. The ticking second hand sounded amplified. They never genuinely cared about the difficulty of my struggle. Now, they viewed me as nothing more than a source of automatic cash flow. Nana Carroll put down the knitting project and reached for my hand. "You have absolutely no obligation to them, Emma. Not after everything they subjected you to." Her words completely sank in. I had waited years for that kind of external validation. Hearing it spoken aloud did not feel like a granted permission. It felt like total, final release. Driving home that night, snow falling, her words cycled in my head. My phone buzzed again. "Mom," I refused to answer. The voicemail was sickly, saccharine sweet. "Another dinner offer scheduled for next week. We would love to properly catch up." I pulled the car over instantly. I stared at the glowing screen. Something fundamental shifted inside me. My entire life, I had been taught that silence demonstrated weakness, that ignoring contact made me irrelevant. But sitting there, the car engine running, snow collecting on the windshield, I realized a deeper truth. Silence can actually be a weapon. They were planning their calculated move. For the first time ever, I was planning mine too. 2 weeks after the dinner, Mom called again. Her voice was artificially soft, almost scripted. "Your father and I were just discussing how proud we are of you, Emma." She suggested I visit this weekend. "We'll have a lovely family meal. Diana will be here." This was the first true family dinner request in years. I agreed immediately. I knew exactly why they wanted me there. Saturday arrived, cold and gray with sleet. I considered turning back mid-drive, but curiosity or maybe need for finality kept me going. Stepping inside, the house smelled of control and lemon cleaner. The expensive china was set. Deanna's laughter echoed from the kitchen. Mom met me at the door, her cheerfulness was strained. "You look so polished now," she remarked. Her eyes scanned my coat, boots, and bag. "Your job must be treating you well." "It's adequate," I responded. Dinner unfolded like a staged play. Polite small talk, forced, huge smiles. Dad asked about my salary just out of curiosity. Mom mentioned Diana's new downtown apartment. Excellent area, 2 bedrooms, close to her company. Diana chimed in. "It's perfect, Emma, you must see it." I offered a faint smile. "Sounds lovely." Mom carefully put down her fork. She folded her hands, ready to make a formal announcement. Your father and I talked it over. Diana needs stability in her life stage now, and you are, well, in a powerful financial spot. Dad cleared his throat loudly. We think it would be meaningful if you helped her start out. Maybe co-sign the mortgage, or even cover her payments initially. My chest tightened instantly. My face remained expressionless. $350,000, I stated slowly. I tasted the number. Mom smiled widely. Exactly, it's not a huge amount, really. You could easily afford it. That sentence landed like a shot, precisely what Nana Carroll predicted. I placed my fork gently on the plate. The entire room froze. Of course, I replied, if that is truly what you desire. Visible relief washed over their faces. Diana squealed, hugging me tight. You are the best. I knew you would help. I hugged her back, my smile soft and completely empty. That night I started packing, not out of rage but clarity. I opened my laptop. I typed a brief email to my boss, Mark. You mentioned the Wyoming branch needing expansion. If that opening still exists, consider me interested. His response was immediate. Let's meet Monday. I stood in my half-empty apartment. Cardboard boxes everywhere. Snow started outside. For the first time, I wasn't escaping them. I was moving toward myself. They expected me at the bank, handing over my freedom. But when they sat down to sign, I would already be gone. The week before the scheduled bank meeting, I moved quietly through my routine, packing boxes late at night, canceling the lease, transferring my mail address. Everything was calculated. By Friday, my apartment was empty except for a small box labeled Wyoming. I only told Nana Carroll the day before my flight. We drank tea in her kitchen, chamomile scent filling the air. Wyoming, she repeated, looking concerned. That is such a distance. I nodded. I cannot stay here, Nana. They will never stop taking unless I stop giving. She studied me for a long time. Then she smiled, sad yet proud. Do what you must, sweetheart. Just call me when you land. I promise. That night I rechecked every detail. The moving company, my ticket, the new apartment waiting across state lines. My phone chimed. Mom, don't forget the appointment, 10 a.m. sharp. I stared until the message blurred. Then I shut the phone off. Monday arrived, cold and dull. Movers loaded my belongings. I wiped the final smears off the windows. The door closed behind me. It felt like breathing out after years underwater. I dropped my keys, rolled my suitcase down the hall. I never looked back. By Tuesday morning, I was at my new office in Wyoming. New skyline, same snow. My boss, Mark, showed me the building. He introduced the team. You will fit right in, he said. I smiled. That's the entire intention. At 9:59 a.m. that Friday, my desk phone began vibrating. First Mom, then Dad, then Diana. Call after call, buzzing like angry insects. I watched the screen for a moment. Then I turned the phone face down. I imagined them at the bank at 10:03, checking their watches, wondering why I was delayed. By 10:05, Mom would probably pace, whispering that I acted selfishly. At 10:10, Dad would grumble about the public embarrassment. By 10:15, Diana would pout, arms crossed, insisting I had promised. I hoped the silence that hit them at 10:30 upon full realization was deafening. Around noon, my phone lit up again. Texts piled in. Where are you? We are waiting. You are making us look foolish. Finally, a demand, call us immediately. I took a slow coffee sip. I answered the ringing phone. Emma, Mom's voice was sharp, panicked. Where the hell have you been? We sat here for 2 hours. I looked outside at the Wyoming mountains. Sunlight reflected off the snow. At work, I replied. In Wyoming. Silence, then utter chaos erupted. Wyoming, what is this about? I transferred last week, I explained simply. New job, a new start. Mom gasped as if struck. You cannot just abandon us like this. We need you here. No, I stated calmly. You need my funds, that is distinct. Emma, stop the drama, we are family. Family, I interrupted, my voice steady. You mean the people who deemed me unworthy of a college loan, but mortgaged the house for Diana's tuition, the ones who missed my graduation for her cruise. Do not distort this, she snapped. You are being cruel. Cruel? I gave a quiet laugh. Want to know cruelty, Mom? Watching your child drown in debt, calling it tough love. faking impartiality when you always favored one child. Her voice broke. We just thought, you thought I still wanted your approval. I heard Diana weeping in the background. Emma, please just help me. I need this apartment to begin my life. I swallowed hard. Then begin it, but not by standing on my back. A massive, unbelieving pause followed. Then Dad's voice cut in, rough and angry. You disrespect your mother after everything we did for you. I cut him off. What exactly did you do, Dad, besides watch? The line went dead silent. I could picture their faces perfectly. Mom's jaw tight, Dad gripping the phone receiver. Diana's tears, half frustration, half shock. Mom finally spoke, low and shaky. If you hang up now, do not even think about returning. I smiled slightly. A genuine, small smile no one saw. That is the goal, I confirmed. Then I ended the call. The phone buzzed immediately. Then again, I blocked their numbers systematically. Each block felt liberating, like cutting a puppet's strings. I sat still for a few minutes. I listened to the office hum. My chest ached, but it was relief, not guilt. Outside, the light changed. The sun caught the snow, sparkling painfully bright. I touched the cold glass, grounding myself. Mom's final words echoed, "Don't bother coming back." I believed her for the first time. It felt like freedom. Nana Carol called later that afternoon. Her voice was warm, stable. They showed up, she said. They wanted me to call you to make you see reason. I laughed softly. And did you? I told them reason left with you, she replied. I told them they destroyed the only good heart in their house. I leaned back, eyes closed. The office hum, typing sounds, coffee smell, all of it felt fresh. I didn't argue, I murmured, mostly to myself. I know, she agreed. That is why you succeeded. She was right. I didn't need yelling to be heard. My silence spoke volumes. The next days felt strangely calm. The world seemed muted. No vibrating phone, no pressing guilt, just silence. And this silence was earned, not empty. I settled into my Wyoming apartment. Modest one bedroom, sunlight across the wood floor every morning. I unpacked slowly. The last item was a framed photo of Nana Carol. I set it near my steaming coffee mug. When she called that night, her voice held that familiar, knowing smile. They are furious, you know, she reported. Came knocking, shouting betrayal. What did you say? That they confuse generosity with servitude, she answered. And that I am proud of you. I laughed, staring at the pink glowing skyline. You were always the only one who truly saw me. I just needed you to finally see yourself, Emma. Later, I checked my phone. Voicemails were stacked. Mom's rage, Diana's tears, Dad's silence. I deleted every single one without listening. The city lights flickered on outside. One window at a time. Far away, they still sat in that house, blaming me for refusing to be the daughter they could exploit. I was here now, living as the woman I fought to become. 6 months passed. Spring arrived in Wyoming. Snow melted into bright rivers. The air signaled new starts. Nana Carol visited, wearing her favorite pink shawl. We sat on my balcony, drinking tea, watching the mountains turn golden in the afternoon sun. You know, I mused, smiling, I owe nothing now, not their acceptance, not their forgiveness, nothing. Nana Carol squeezed my hand. That is the sound of freedom. I surveyed the city. A deep calmness settled. For the first time, I told her, I am not running from something, I am running toward me. If you ever needed to leave to protect your inner peace, I hope this story confirms you are not alone.